All right, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you guys, but I am ready to get day two started, and I am excited to have the privilege to announce our first speaker, Hall of Famer, Mr. Karim Tawansy. Karim is going to be talking to you about selling Cutco kitchens, but I'd actually love to share just a little bit about Karim that I hope gives you some insight as to why he is the perfect person, in my mind, to deliver this message. Started in April of '98 while being a full-time student studying electrical engineering at UC Santa Barbara. Married his high school sweetheart, together 26 years, and married for 19 with two beautiful kids, Kana, who's 14, Mally, who's 13. And here's where it gets really great. As great as all of those things are, over 1,000 grand days. Multiple Academy of Champions and Standard of Excellence winners almost every single year. The Sir Lancelot Award, when we talked to Karim, he said this was his favorite accomplishment. There's only one per year, and it's based upon running your business at the highest level of integrity. And that is absolutely a word that I think about that is synonymous with Karim. 33 weeks in a row, over $3,000 while he was in school full time. And now shifting back, his main focus in his life is family, maintaining a great balance in life. I think he'd be the first to say that he doesn't work nearly as much as he used to, but when he does, he's focusing as selling as much as possible in the time that he is working. We asked Karim going into this message, Karim, why are you so good at selling Cutco kitchens? And he told us actually 4 reasons why I think that you all can relate to what he's going to say here. And if you can't just yet, based upon however many Cutco kitchens you haven't sold, or wherever you're at with understanding and working with them, I'm going to ask that you pay closer attention to his message, because knowing Karim, he's going to help you see and understand exactly how to get there. First thing he said, I'm good at selling cookware. That's an understatement, by the way. There seems to be most people's biggest weakness out of the knives, flatware, and cookware, but he is the #1 rep in the company for cookware, and it makes selling Cutco kitchens that much easier. Think big, and he always wants to get maximum possible results when he's working so that in the end, he can get bigger results in less time. One of my favorite quotes of Karim is when he talks about brain surgeon pay. And if he doesn't talk about it here today, I want to make sure that you go back to some of the past talks that we have posted for you, either on the Cutco event app or on YouTube or on Vector Connect, because that is probably the perfect analogy. And I still think about that today. Karim always focuses on listening to the customer, helping them establish the need for their products, and upserving into the kitchen with their best needs and their best interest in mind. And he's always focused on packages versus individual items. Guys, I'm going to tell you that I have personally had the honor to work closely with Karim on a couple of projects during my time here with Cutco. And those times, quite honestly, stand out as some of my favorite. Because not only did I learn so much about the business in ways that I never thought about, I just sat back and I watched in awe of his handling of people, his peers, managers, and really the drive and desire that he put into every single thing that he did. No detail was overlooked. No issue was too big or too small, and he didn't have direct handling and knowledge of it at all times. The levels of care and compassion he took were never sacrificed. He never took a shortcut, and honestly, that's a huge thing for me. It instantly made me one of his biggest fans personally and professionally then, as he still does today. Him being here, sharing his knowledge on this topic is not a surprise, knowing how much he loves to give back. But the winner is going to be all of you, because you guys are going to be the beneficiaries of all of his selflessness. So without further ado, please help me welcome to the virtual stage, Mr. Karim Tawansy. Time to wake up, Karim.
You're muted, Karim. Wake up, buddy.
Is it time? Dude, it's early over here. What? I'm in Hawaii, man. I'm in the surf capital of the world on the North Shore. It's the earliest part of the United States. I'm not ready. Oh, just kidding. All right, I'm ready. I'm ready to deliver the goods. All right, so get excited, because what I'm going to teach you right now, still have leftover wig stuff on my head, is it's going to make you that much more efficient at your job. As Dave talked about, I'm all about balance and I'm about getting maximum results for the time that I do work so that I don't have to work that very much in order to maintain my lifestyle and provide for my family. So what I'm going to cover today is I'm going to give you 5 actionable steps, things that you can start doing in your appointments today to start selling kitchens and to raise your overall average order tremendously. First off, I want to tell you, just always go big, right? You always want to start big. You always want to close big. It's going to help you close more orders. It's going to help you close more small orders. I'll close as hard as I have to sell a cutting board because CPO doesn't mean anything to me. Some people are concerned with their average orders and stats and things like that. That's not what it is for me. I will sell cutting boards all day if that's all that I can get out of a customer, because in the end, it's part of a much larger equation. It's how much profit I'm making for the amount of time that I'm working. So that being said, I want to maximize that number. So by focusing on larger packages, it kind of easily wipes out the little ones, both in your averages and in your customers' expectations. So just to kind of give you guys a little kind of what to expect and how you can implement this into your business. Some of you might know Connor Kelly. He's been in the business for well over a decade. And he came out and field trained with me just 3 weeks ago. And he's been, again, in the business over a decade, and he sold 1 Cutco kitchen in his career. That was 3 weeks ago. He's now sold 2 in the last 2 weeks. All right, because of the stuff that I'm going to teach you all today that I taught him face to face just 3 weeks ago. And this is the guy who's like $2.5 million in career sales, sold 320K in the pandemic year and 440 the year before. So what I'm saying to you is, no matter if you're brand new in the business or if you're a Jason Jeffries or a Curtis JQs or one of the amazing all-time legends in the business, I hope to provide some value to each and every one of them. So before we actually start the 5 actionable steps, I want to say that it starts with your mindset. Are you trying to sell knives and maybe a set here or there, or are you trying to sell packages actively? What's your expectations? What's your expectation for what a big order is? Right. And I want you to think back to when you first started this business, whether that was a week ago for you or, 20 years ago for some of us. And so, think about when you sold your first homemaker and you were like, oh my God, people spend $1,000 on a set of knives, right? And your expectation, your mindset of, $20 on is a super nice dinner out, right? As a college student to, oh my God, people spend $1,000. Well, I want you to understand, no matter where that expectation is right now, you're not there yet. You're still rising in the sky rise, right? And you can always go higher. I try to go higher every single appointment that I do, raising that mindset of what a big package is, what a big day is, how many of you have sold $5,000 in a day, $10,000 in a day, $20,000 in a day? Right now my record is $27,000 in a day, but I know there's lots of people on this call right now that have had much bigger days. And so that's my goal, is to be like you guys. So in that being said, control the controllables, set yourselves up for these big packages and these big days. If you're doing appointments, are you just doing 4 appointments? Or are you scheduling your day out for 7 appointments, right? I'm of the mindset that if I'm going to work, I'm going to work, because 3 or 4 days a week, I don't have a shirt on. Like, I never put one on throughout the day. I have board shorts on. And if I'm doing some work, maybe from my lanai watching the ocean. But if I'm going to actually put an Aloha shirt on and go to work, then I'm going to make sure that I'm super effective and I've really maximized my day. So you want to do that same thing. So act as if every single customer that you're talking to, every single appointment that you're on, act as if that's the only opportunity, the only at bat that you're going to have all week long. What would you do if you knew? What would you do if you knew that this person was capable of spending 10K right now, and it's the only person I'm going to talk to all week long or all month long? Maybe this is going to be my income for the month, right? So always strive for more. If you're super excited when you get a $2,000 order or a $3,000 order, just know that for a lot of us, when we get that 3K order, when we sell an Ultimate with steak knives, and it wasn't all that hard, that just tells me that this very likely can be a $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 order pretty easily. And that's kind of, I wasn't going to bring this up, but Dave mentioned too how I talk about brain surgeon pay. It's that last part of the demo. You've spent all this time to get there, and it's that last part where you can double your order and add another $1,500, not CPO, but $1,500 of income. You know, $2,000, $3,000 of income in the last 5 to 10 minutes of spending time with that customer. And that's brain surgeon pay, right? Getting paid the same hourly as a brain surgeon. So raise the bar, raise your level. And are you showing pieces or are you showing sets? So I want you to go back in your scripting. And by the way, there's a handout. If you don't have it yet, you will get that. So don't worry. And so don't scramble necessarily to take notes on the verbiage, you know, the scripting that I'm going to give you today. I want you to understand more the mentality of it. And you can always look, I've given you a lot of the actually what to say. But what I want you to do is go back in your mind, go back in time and imagine that if when you sat through training, we didn't teach you how to sell homemakers and maybe a signature and maybe an ultimate, but we taught you how to sell kitchens. How would your presentation look different? You know, what would you be saying different? When would you be saying it different? How would you be saying it different? Right? Everything should be part of a package. Are you showing knives or are you showing kitchens and bundles? Right? Do you guys sell that K-bar knife? Oh yeah, that's part of our outdoor package. Do you guys sell that can opener? Yep, it's part of our accessory package. Or I think I got this from Josh, I'm not sure. Apologies if I'm misquoting, but I like to call it the take back the drawer package. Right? So let's kind of start to dive in here, but what I want to say is that the concept of selling a kitchen is not something that you want to drop on your customer at the end of the presentation. This should be introduced in the very first 30 seconds, whether you're doing an in-home, a virtual, or at the booth, not just as an observe later on. So you need to go through your scripts and evaluate that verbiage. And how can I change my pitch towards selling Cutco kitchens, right? All right, now, first things first, the first one is gonna be the hardest one, right? So those of you that have sold it, with the stuff that you're gonna learn today, you're gonna start popping them left and right that much more. But just the last thing I wanna talk about as far as mindset is just know that people spend this kind of money. Know that people spend 10 grand on Cutco. I would almost wager almost every single day there's somebody in the nation getting a 10K order. So if it hasn't happened to you, just again, you sold a homemaker when you thought that was impossible. So once you sell your first Cutco kitchen, you're going to sell them a lot more. So here we go. 5 actionable steps, things that you can start to implement right away. First thing, mention it in the first 30 seconds. All right. So you don't have to write down this verbiage here because I have it typed out for you in the handout, but Cutco started out as the #1 selling knife company, but now we're known as the premier kitchen company. Because we also make beautiful high-end flatware, super fast and easy and healthy cookware, and even all the accessories that people replace every 6 months to 2 years, like your peeler, can opener, et cetera. And all of it's guaranteed forever. Okay, so all of that should come out somewhere in your first 30 to 60 seconds with any kind of customer. Number 2, keep reminding them of the enjoyment of using quality products and the frustration of poor quality. Okay, it goes way beyond just the knives in their kitchen. And, you know, I use an expression that says, it goes, sell the sizzle, not the steak. And what that means, I didn't really explain it the last time I said it, but what that means is, you know, if you look at like a commercial for a restaurant, or, you know, even if you look on YouTube about how to cook a good steak, the first thing you're going to see is the sizzling steak, right? Like, and they suck you in with that image, and they're not telling you how the beef was raised, you know, and if the beef was massaged and things like that. What they're selling the sizzle, not the actual details of the steak. And so what you want to do is you want to sell this concept of, you know, imagine what it would be like if every time you open up a drawer, you were pulling out a high quality American made product that just works, right? So you want to paint pictures with phrases like, you know how frustrating it is when, and again, this stuff's written down for you, but things like when you try to slice a tomato and you end up with salsa, right? Or when you're cooking something in a big frying pan and the stuff right in the middle, right underneath the burner gets cooked, but the outside edges aren't even done yet, right? So painting those frustrations, like anything you want to say and relay to your customer, change it into a story instead, or visualization, or a question. Some other good phrases are: imagine if, right? What would it be like if? How would you like it if? Okay, and I've given you some examples on that handout, but things like, imagine if your knives were razor sharp whenever you needed to cut something. What would it be like if you never had to spend another dime on kitchen stuff? And when you pulled it out, it worked next level. Imagine if you could cook all your meals 20 to 30% faster and they tasted better than ever before. Okay. So number 3, remind them over and over about the guarantee and the longevity. Okay. So at the beginning with the 30-second company intro, cutting with a junk knife. Hey, serrated edges are great when they're brand new because they can rip and tear through anything because the points do the cutting. The problem is, how do those work 6 months later? Okay, now you're asking that and you're actually waiting for the answer. Right, so besides not cutting clean, the main problem is that once these points wear down, you can't actually sharpen them. So eventually, what do you have to do with this knife? And let them say it. In fact, most people tend to do the same thing with their cookware and gadgets in their kitchen too. Okay, we're setting them up for a kitchen already, not just the knives anymore. Imagine if you could find a line of American-made kitchen products that you never had to replace again, so on and so forth. Again, I've got that written out for you. When you're talking about the different sets and packages, make sure that your customers have a long-term mindset in there. So when you're covering the sets, I like to say something to the effect of, Mrs. Jones, now keep in mind, don't just think about what you're doing now in your kitchen, but also 30, 40 years from now when your kids are bringing their kids over for Sunday dinner and you've had the smoker going since Saturday morning, right? And paint those pictures so that when you talk about like an ultimate set and they go, oh, I could never use all that. Well, remember now, it's not just what you're doing yesterday and today, but think long-term. All right. And there's a magic word that you want to use over and over when introducing the next products, when talking about Cutco, and that's forever, right? It's the first word of our guarantee. But I like to talk about that with any time I talk about like a product line, so even if they're not in the market right now, or so they think, for cookware, you can just ask them, hey, do you mind if I just take 20 seconds to explain why this is going to be your forever cookware? Let me introduce you to your forever flatware. Number 4, show the kitchen package. Okay, and I'm a big advocate of the Vast Action specials. A little plug there. They've got a great one that's got the beautiful pictures, and I used to make my own specials, 15 years ago before anybody else was doing it, and they weren't nearly as sexy as what Vast Action puts out. So have that one printed, have it laminated, and by the way, if you're working at a booth, have it sitting out in front. There you go, Josh is showing it, but have it sitting out on the table in front of you, so that when people walk up, if they happen to look down, they will see that $9,000 price tag. That's okay. It sets the expectation way up here. So imagine how easy it is to sell a signature set, right? When they have a $10,000 number in their mind. So make sure that you actually show them the kitchen special, and we'll talk about kind of where to do that in just a second here. But a great kind of at some point you should be talking about giving them a price expectation. And again, this is in the handout, so don't panic here. So when do I do this? What do I say? It's all in the handout. But at some point, you should be letting them know. So, Mrs. Jones, I'm sure you can tell that this stuff's not cheap. In fact, they average between $100 to $200 per piece. Okay, and now when you start getting into pricing later on, you can say, so remember I said that each knife averages from $100 to $200? Well, there are 32 knives in this set here, the ultimate set. So you can do the math, right? And whether you're sitting at a booth and showing them that in person, or whether you're in a home demo or a virtual demo, you want to show them a picture of the ultimate at least. Now, when you say, hey, you can do the math, you just kind of want to wait and let that sink in a little bit, right? And watch their reaction. And so, in fact, this right here, Mrs. Jones, is called our Cutco kitchen, and that's where you want to pull it out. So if you want to invest in this right now, then I can take a few hours off, right? And then at that moment, though, you really want to pause and see what their reaction is, right? Some of them are like, what is this? Tell me more about that. In my mind, I've already sold it, right? Some of them are like, that's crazy. That's going to kind of let you know how to ease into, the great thing is you can start with just one part of that Cutco trifecta for only $3,000 today, right? And kind of ease into that. So, and on major side note here, guys, is sell steak knives. Like hardly anybody gets table knives from me anymore. And it's super simple. It's not an upsell later on. It's right at the beginning. In fact, I have them cut leather with a steak knife instead of a table knife. And just when I'm kind of first introducing the packages, I let them know. So Mrs. Jones, we have these little table knives. You know, if you know, a lot of vegetarians like these. But which would you prefer, the table knives or the real steak knives? And you hand them that real steak knife. And that's exactly all I say. The little table knife here or the real steak knives. And it's never an issue after that. Now, by the way, though, if they are going to get table knives, make sure that they're stainless, right? Sell those Crow makers because they look sexy, they feel better, and much more CPO. Okay, last thing on that section is just because we're talking about the close here and showing that kitchen package, you want to show the cutting of the penny towards the end. Okay, so a lot of times we come out swinging with all the fun, cool stuff at the beginning, and buying is an emotional process, right? Imagine, put yourself in the customer's shoes, like what it feels like when they first cut that leather, right? And the big difference compared to what they have. And so basically at the end, we're reigniting that, oh yeah, this stuff is really awesome. So save that kind of right before you're showing prices, right before closing, to get that emotional reaction again. By the way, that's also a lot of times when I'll cut straight down with the leather. So at the beginning, I'll just have them saw, and then later on I do that straight down. All right, number 5, last part of the actionable step. No matter what happens with the knives, show the other parts of the Cutco kitchen. In reading your customer and rolling with them, you know, some clothes will kind of naturally go into the kitchen clothes, while some people you may need to get a yes on a set or, you know, kind of part of the order, and then kind of work your way up afterwards into a bigger package. You know, if you're still using order forms in certain scenarios, I always like to get the credit card out, get it on paper. But even if you're using the app, have that credit card out, have it filled out with their set. But before you click submit, now it's upserve time. So great transition line here is, hey, Mrs. Jones, as I mentioned before, we are the premier kitchen company. So Cutco offers huge incentives when you bundle. It's another word I like to throw out a lot, bundle your sets of knives today with either our flatware or our cookware or both, right? Another great transition line into that upserving is, you know, hey, Mrs. Jones, I like to keep a wish list of items that my customers may need and want in the future. That way, if they go on sale, I can let you know. So most people I talk to have a mix and match of, you know, some cast iron pans, some old coated pans, and maybe one decent stainless steel pan. What's your cookware situation like? Okay, and I've talked about this before, that you want to kind of like, don't just ask, what's your cookware situation like? You want to kind of throw out some of the bad stuff and that you've seen, and then ask that question, right? Lay it up for them. You know, most people tell me they've had their flatware since they got married, and now they have a mix and match of several different sets. Do you mind if I take just a few seconds to show you our beautiful flatware here, our box of beauty? All right. And one last thing here, provide solutions, right? It's all about how you present the payments and the timing, right? So I love using verbiage like, you know, nobody starts their morning off thinking about buying a $3,000 set of knives today, right? Because they're already thinking that, right? And so many times they're kind of relieved that you say that. Again, whether this is virtual, in person, or at a booth, and they're like, yeah, exactly. And then I say, but everybody ends up with them after they see me because of this. And then I show them the payment options, okay? And kind of a last ditch thing, you don't want to present this too soon, but last option is doing like a 10 pay or a 15 pay. So if you don't know how that works, just kind of ask your manager, ask a friend. But essentially you're just going to write up another post-dated order. You're just going to hold on to it until the 6th month, line it up with their payments. And on the 6th month, you submit that one. And I gave you some great verbiage in that handout on that as well. But overall, guys treat your customers as individuals. This overview is kind of like a roadmap. But with some people, you have to move fast. Some people you can move super slow. Some people are more into the technical details of the product. They want to know what kind of steel it is. So, but most people are going to be more into the stories. You know, are they buying because it's the best or because everybody else gets it? Because they want the right tool for the right job or because they're frustrated with what they have already, right? So kind of tailor that to the individual. But here's what I want to wrap up with to kind of just make this top of mind about starting big, going big, selling packages. You know, all it takes is one big package to bring your average order way up. So I did some math, and if you had 10 orders and one of them was 100, the next was 200, 300, 400, 500, all the way up to $900, right? So you got some big ones, you got some kind of medium ones, you got some small piece orders in there. And then your 10th order is $6,500. Well, now your total average order for those 10 orders is $1,100. And that's how some of the top reps have these big average orders. It's not because they're selling huge packages every time. We sell individual table knives to the people that just need to replace a table knife too, right? Now we try to upserve, we do our best, but sometimes we sell a table knife, right? But it's that $6,500 order that brings that average up, right? So again, go back, review your script, ask yourself, what if we were trained to sell Cutco kitchens? How different would your pitch be? The process is still the same. Just make sure that you're using the right words, presenting things in package form, not individual knife form. And, you know, I don't even show individual knives. Like for example, when I work at a booth, I don't have individual knives on display. I have my sets on display and that's it. So grab that handout and happy selling. Get some kitchens out in the world.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karim. I really, really appreciate it. What a way to kick things off today. And again, Karim mentioned about the handout that we sincerely appreciate that he put together. We'll be sending that out, if not later tonight, then first thing tomorrow. So you guys will have your hands on it and be able to start utilizing it before the holiday weekend. So thank you so much again, Karim.